I think I know what the next big thing's gonna be, and I can't believe the trend predictors missed this. I think this might be a really green trend.
Right, secret's out, I'm a time traveller, okay? Those of you who know me too well and have been to this channel before will know that if I'm in a wood and I'm saying things in this sarcastic tone, it means I'm about to have a rant, and oh! Are we in for one today? The truth is, being a time traveller isn't the actual reason that I predicted Brat Summer back in January, which, by the way, thank you very much. It actually doesn't involve being a genius at all. I imagine that while I was making that video about predicting Ozcore, Charli XCX's marketing team were having a very similar thought process. They were thinking, as I was, Clean Girl was really big this year, Barbie was really big this year. There's been an emphasis on decorum and elegance and dark academia. And what could be the opposite of that, plus some kind of dark nod to recession core that also gives us what the roaring 20s resurgence lacked, thanks to the disease? Something grubby, something sleazy, something authentic and a little bit dirty and a little bit I don't care. It's gonna be unraveled, it's gonna be irreverent, and it's probably gonna be green. What I predicted would signal the onset of this wasn't Charli XCX's summer album Brat, but the release of Wicked. And I do think there's a real possibility that we will see a darker green come into fashion in autumn, along with my more predicted elements of like steampunk and unraveled glamour. But I'm not gonna lie, when I saw Brat Summer trending and this kind of garish bright Goosebumps green, I was excited. I was like, this is quite nice. It's quite harmless. Charli XCX seems like she really leans into authenticity and hasn't like sold out that much. And one of the interviewers asked her like, what are the essentials for a brat girl summer? And she was like, all you need is a pack of cigarettes, a lighter and a white tank top. And I respect that. Except this week it has transpired that that is not in fact all that you need for a brat summer. You need something else. H&M's new autumn collection. Yes, I am not kidding. Charli XCX has just announced a huge collaboration with known human and planet exploiters, to the point where they've actually been in court several times about it, H&M. Now, as we've discussed on this channel before, I quite like this planet. It's quite nice. I would like to stay living on it. And the practices of H&M simply aren't compatible with that, which makes me sad because I was a massive H&M girly when I was a teenager. I understand the rhetoric about luxury brands being unaffordable and most people being shut out of that. Like, we are in a bloody cost of living crisis in this country. But as we've talked on the channel before, there is a difference between something becoming affordable for one person at the expense of somebody who is in a much more vulnerable position. And just because that person is in a different country doesn't mean that their class politics are irrelevant just because other people are being screwed over by the economy. Does that make sense? If it doesn't make sense, there's a video about that up here. We simply don't have time. The news made me think a little bit more closely about the idea of Brat and what it might hold behind its tarnished, mysterious curtains. Obviously when you hear the term brat, you might think spoiled brat, army brat. We use it as a suffix for like other... Is suffix the right word? It's been a long time since GCSE English. We say something derogatory before we say brat, and brat is already a bit of a derogatory word. It's to describe a child who is being uncouth, disobedient, annoying and not behaving, which obviously in the context of being a global citizen at this point in proceedings, it's very essential that we become a little bit bratty. We don't follow orders and rules. We were actually standing in this exact forest where we had this chat about Just Stop Oil and the complicated feelings we have about them ruining famous paintings. And while that's all true, we also have to think about the idea of brat as somebody who doesn't care. The aesthetics of not caring, of being too cool to give a shit, which when it comes to our own self-image is brilliant. When it comes to how we treat other people, which is what we talk about when we talk about how we use and promote clothes, I think that people think that we're talking about the fabric, but we're talking about all the people who touch the fabric. So when it comes to how we treat other people, I very much don't want us to be bratty about that. In fact, it's the tinsiest little bit of a red flag. The mob wifey, like smudged eyeliner aesthetics of the pictures that have already been released around this campaign are already a little concerning. They all involve a lot of faux fur, which is essentially just like plastic, but like the most amount of plastic you could use for one garment because you're using so many strands of plastic, like it's insane. But it's okay because Charli XCX and H&M describe it as heirloom style. The irony, brands trying to mimic being secondhand when we could so easily just be secondhand. Heirloom style, offbeat and earthy, and their belts help complete the mood of assertive femininity. Now, we've talked a lot about how femininity can be weaponized, and the idea of being an assertive girly is just essentially the new girl boss, which means hit everybody else with your stiletto on your way up. So I feel like a little bit weird about the fact that Charli XCX has spent months making us feel like being brat and having a brat summer is liberating and anti-capitalist and just like stripped back and like we don't care, only to then turn around and like promote a collection with people who are inarguably, like not accidentally, like on purpose trying to speed up the extinction of humanity. Like I don't mean to sound crass, I don't mean to sound like I'm exaggerating. I kind of hate talking about the climate because whenever you actually sincerely talk about it, you do sound like you're exaggerating because it is so insane. But the gaslighty behaviour of making you feel like you're following somebody alternative to realise that you're only following somebody who will just secure the bag even though they already have several bags at home, that's a bit depressing. And I just wondered if anybody else was depressed by that, or should we just not be surprised, or should we just leave everybody to it and let her do her girl bossy thing and let her call it something else? Because I found out something else really interesting about the origins of the word brat. It's actually from like an old Gaelic or /Irish /Scottish, like the roots of the word are all in those languages, and it used to mean cloak or mantle, taken from words that sounded similar that used to mean swaddling clothes. Brat is directly etymologically connected to the clothing industry and also a bird's plumage. You can't make this shit up. A word that was originally used to describe nature and then used to describe how we mimic nature by covering ourselves in plumage, to then have products that literally kill environments in which birds could continue to thrive by making clothes that mimic plumage so that we can just stop caring about everything and be ourselves, but also do care about what Charli X thinks and what she thinks that you should wear and copy that and buy that. Silent screams because it's a Sunday and I recognise that some people just want to walk their dogs and not think too much. If only that could be me. I would love to hear what you think. Do you think that it's ironic that Charli XCX's marketing team have seen that we want something stripped back, something less, an aesthetic that is less prescriptive? We want to be left alone, almost like Brat Summer is the aesthetic about being left alone and being allowed to party, and also that we literally want green. Like there's a reason the human brain responds really well to green, because it means outdoors, things are blooming, you're in an environment where things can grow, stay here, eat some shrubs. And they have ironically started redirecting us through that funnel to consume. I feel like any good instinct that we collectively have as a group is almost immediately co-opted to go in the opposite direction. Every time we start having positive groupthink, they're like, there's a product for that. And guess what? It's unethically made out of plastic. Eat it up, bitch. Do you think there is an extent to which making an aesthetic out of not caring has gone too far? And do you think that, and wait for it, here's my climax, are you ready? ... Is Brat Summer literally greenwashing? Get it? I thought that was clever. And you immediately know when somebody says, I thought that was clever, it's not clever at all, it's probably incredibly obvious and not even that funny. Am I at the point where I am telling dad jokes and that's now my job on the internet? Potentially, but also, if I can presume to be in any way powerful enough, I would like to inspire us to have even more of a discussion than we already do on this channel about how we get out of this cycle of trends, corrupting the trends, getting bored of the trends too fast, starting a new trend. Like, I'm exhausted, you're exhausted, but I still really like green and I'm excited about the Wicked movie, so yeah, I am gonna wear green all of autumn because it was my idea first, Charli. Thank you so much for watching. I have not had to do a partnership with H&M because of the Gumption Club. They support me on Patreon and in exchange I give them weekly podcasts just like a ramble like this, except it's just audio and you can get it on any of your podcast apps, and There's already like 103 of them to go and listen to now. Plus we have a Discord community, we have a Facebook community, you get early access to videos, and it's just a bloody wholesome time. I even hung out with a few members of the Gumption Club recently at Greenbelt Festival, and we had an absolutely disgustingly wholesome time, if I'm honest. It was actually kind of terrifying how nice it was. So if you want to join a community like that, click the link below and you can find out how. Thanks so much for watching. We're in a hellscape, but at least we're together. I'm glad you're here. Frog Snog out.